This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so the fun new thing for it is, and I'll just repeat what I said. So we're going to do a quick search, select the couple items that you want, and then you can click Save. And from the format, select PubMed. What this does is it provides you with a text file of all of the PubMeds that you want to pull in. You click Create File,
Oh,
save it wherever you want, and then in the tool, you simply click File Add and find where that was saved. Might take it a second. Did I grab it? Here we go. And then it'll auto-populate all of the PubMed numbers in there for you.
word.
That's great.
Yeah. So if there's like a one-off that you need to do and pull this in, that's super easy. You can do that definitely. But if you have like a giant set of items that you want to pull together, you can definitely do that. And
Cool.
because it's a text file, if you wanted to, like, let's say you wanted to do like 15 different searches. I'm not super familiar with how PubMed or PubMed does all of like how you can select. So if you needed to, you could always take those 15 text files it generates and copy paste them together if you wanted. So you can get one big one, but makes your lives a lot easier, and just work.
Yeah,
It seems to work
that's
better.
awesome.
Yeah. So now in terms of the tool, using it is just as simple as adding those PubMed numbers. You want to browse to where you want to save the folder or save the output that Sutron is going to take in. So I have a little folder here on my desktop that I use. And one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is that you'll see two files come out of this when you're done. So you'll see PubMed XML output, and then you'll also see the PubMed XML, whatever I've named this particular file. The reason for that is recently we've kind of seen that PubMed has been changing its XML format occasionally, and it's very strange. So if there is ever an issue that comes up for whatever reason in a set of this, just send me that output file, the one with the weirdo characters and has time, date, stamp format on it. Then I can take that, give it to the web developer, and he can go through and see, oh, okay, for some reason, PubMed doesn't validate their XML. So what I mean by that is an ampersand, for instance, is not a valid XML character. You have to use what's called an escape character for it. Well, PubMed doesn't require that. So when they give you their PubMed XML, it's not right. So a lot of tools will all of a sudden blow up because it doesn't work right. So we've done a lot of prepping for that, and we try to take that into consideration, but there's the odd occasion when PubMed just decides to, snub its nose at us and we have to do a new one. So that's why we have that output just in case. And eventually, once everything's been fine for a few whiles, you can just get rid of those and not have to worry at all about them. Now, once you generate this file, you'll be uploading it into the Sutron FTP in order to import those records into Sutron. What I would recommend is standardizing that name. You could standardize it for both of you, or you could standardize it. Olin calls it one thing, and Allison, you call it another thing, for instance. That may be the best of both of all worlds if we create two import maps, but otherwise I'd suggest just one name for these import creations.
Okay.
And I'll explain why in a second, or in a little bit. So I've got my name in here of what I'm calling the file that I'm going to put into Sutron. I've got my PubMeds. I simply click Start. You'll see the nice little bar go. It will be extremely fast. I tried 1,000 the other day, and it was almost like 5 seconds at most. So
Wow.
you should see it almost complete immediately. So once you're done, you can just simply click Open Output Location. It'll open that folder for you. Here's that file that I wanted. Now what I'm going to do is I need to log into the FTP. So I've got that handy here. And I'm simply going to put it into the Sutron FTP. So I standardized this earlier. So I just called it PubMed Sutron. Now, you guys can call it whatever you want. Just let me know whatever it is, or I'll show you how to adjust the import map to take that into consideration. So grab that file and just drag and drop it over. We'll, of course, upload it. And it may have timed out, but you get the idea. Drag and drop over into the FTP. When it's done, you'll see this little window usually disappear on whichever FTP client you're using, and away you go. Yeah, see, I've timed out. Let's see if we can get back in there. Okay. All right, we'll ignore it. You get the idea, put it over there. So once that's over there, then it comes time to importing that file into Sutron. So what you want to do is go to Modules, Import, Import Maintenance. That will take you to this screen here where you'll see all of our prior imports, and then you'll see the final one, which is called Import PubMed. Now, in this case, I'm going to edit it and show it to you, but in the future, you won't need to necessarily edit. The only time that you might need to edit is if we're changing where the name of the file that we're importing from. And that's why I recommend you standardize it so you don't have to update that. So you can see here, this third step here, that is the path of your FTP. And this last part after the last slash, there we go, that's the name of that file that's in your FTP. So I just threw together a really quick import map. There's a couple items that we need to talk about to make sure I know where they're going. But this is essentially the idea. It just maps out where the field from the XML is going. It is going to in Sutron, and that's it. So I threw a lot at you. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
So we're standardizing the name of the folder that it's coming from into Sutron. Do you mean like we're literally naming it like the same exact thing, or?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it'll like overwrite whatever there was the last time?
Yes, except
okay, that makes sense.
Yes. However, I mean, we have another client who uses this tool, and what they do before they overwrite it each time is they just change the name of the previous file to like -01 or the date that they brought it in, so that they can always say, hey, Tanya, I saw this in this one, and can you take a look at it, for instance. But standardizing the name just helps for moving it over to the into the FTP. If you look in my folder, for instance, this is the folder, this is the name of the file that I saved. So PubMed XML example Sutron asthma. And then I copied it and I just renamed it to PubMed Sutron. So you could do something as simple as that. Yeah. And then that way you have a copy of it in case you need to go back and take a look at anything, in case you need to send it to me and say, hey, this is what's coming in. It doesn't look right to me. Can you take a look at why it's doing this? So
okay, cool.
Those are the examples of what it is. Now, we might need to tweak it a couple times. So this first one may not be perfect. We tried to do it as close as we could to what our notes were initially, but sometimes we can only standardize something so far, et cetera, et cetera. So there might be a few tweaks we need to do as we go along. And that's why also sending me those files helps. Okay, so in terms of the data map, I have this that I quickly threw together. These are all of the fields that are in the PubMed XML. And I just quickly went through, and before we had bolded the ones that we were going to bring in. So I just want to go over this and make sure that you guys are okay with where I'm assuming that these things are going into. So abstract to abstract, I assume that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Article date, now we changed that into a field called publication date because we combined two fields together to use whichever one was there. So we'll ignore that for now. Article title to title. Now the article ID DOI, I remember you saying that you wanted it. I don't remember why or where we decided it would go. So
Yeah, so currently we just write the DOI or copy and paste it into our source field, which is our citation
right.
field. But it doesn't have to live there. It can be its own field.
Right. Well, here, let me quickly show you. So this is one I was just playing with right before we got together. So here's the journal source that we put together for you, and it includes the DOI
Oh, okay,
information.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put that into your source field, or I mapped it to your source field for now. Does that sound right? This
Yeah, that's
journal
great.
source. Excellent.
Yep.
Okay. Where were we? There we go. Okay, so I will unbold this one for now because we know now that the DOI is in the journal source, so that's okay. All right, so the article ID PMC, you can actually see it right here. We did what we talked about last time where we took that initial URL and then threw on that PMC number at the end. So you can see now it'll link directly to the full text. I did test this particular one and it does take me directly to the full text. So
awesome.
that was awesome. Yeah.
Great.
And so I just have that one mapping into website. I assume that's probably where you'd put it anyways.
Yeah. That's fine for
and
now.
the map can be adjusted at any time. So if this initial part isn't exactly how we want it to go, we can adjust that later on down the line. It's not a problem.
Okay.
All right, author to authors. Now, the journal issue pub date, remember this is the one that we combined with the other one for publication date. And I mentioned that down at the bottom for us. So the journal source, we'll put that into your source. Now keyword and the mesh headings, we combine those two fields into one. And so I just need to confirm with you where that is, but that's just a little bit below. So let's hold off on that. Language, I assume, is going into language.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're using the PMIDs as the imported IDs. Just to make sure that we don't accidentally import 5 of the same one.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so now the keywords and the mesh headings, is that going to go into keyword or subjects?
So I think if I remember correctly, we were talking about having the keywords and the mesh headings imported so
Into
that
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so that we could use those for cataloging purposes for help. But then we have in our subjects field, we have our own vocabulary.
Right.
So
I think we were going to put it then in keywords. Does that sound right?
it sounds like a good option. Yeah, I don't remember what we decided, but it's like,
I don't know if we fully decided. I think we had just talked about the fact that first we were going to put keyword and mesh headings together, and then that you guys had your own vocabulary, but that you wanted to supplement it, and we would either do that via keyword or just shove them all into subjects.
yeah, I think we'd prefer to have them in a separate field because
control your own vocabulary and then just have that as the supplemental. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll adjust that in just a minute in the data map. Okay, and then of course the publication date field is going to go into publication date.
Mhm.
Excellent. Okay, so let me save that so I have that stored. Now let's just adjust this one. All right. Where's keyword mesh? There we go. So we're going to put that into keywords. Excellent. Okay. So now what we have to do and make sure of is essentially that whichever record types we are planning to import this into have the fields that we actually indicate here that we're going to be using. The only ones that I'm not concerned about, but concerned about, if you will, are the imported ID and the keywords, just to make sure that those two are actually in there, since those are
Yeah.
not usual fields that you've been using.
Yeah,
So,
those would be new.
yeah, so which record types were you thinking that you might use for this, or which ones do you use currently?
I think it would just be journal articles.
Okay.
Because
So
that's,
is it okay if we go in right now and edit that and fix that up?
yeah, totally. Yep.
Excellent. All right. So journal article right at the top. Okay.
Mhm.
And we'll go to fields. So what are we looking at here? Okay, so we've got the subjects, websites. Okay, so we've got source, good. We've got publication date, abstract, websites. Other than that, so we need the imported ID, keywords. Did we see language there?
It's the last one that's checked.
Ah, excellent. Okay. And then authors. Do you have authors in there? Yes. Excellent. Okay. So we'll just find those keywords and the imported ID.
Now I see that keywords is at the source field.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be changed? Like, is that gonna? Because we don't have a keyword thesaurus.
It's actually one of the built-in thesauri that's already in Sutron. So if you don't currently use it, then it can be just used for this.
Okay, so anything that we import automatically goes into the thesaurus?
Mm-hmm. And then you can also change things. The only reason I'd recommend leaving it in a thesaurus is then you can change the terms easier or fix things. So for instance, if for whatever reason, and I've seen this a couple times, whoever's uploading the PubMed article spells a keyword wrong, for instance, then you can easily just merge those terms together and you don't have to worry about hunting around and fixing all these different records. You can just do it in like a snap sort of thing.
Okay.
I sense hesitation.
Well, so my thought is, so my vision for using this keywords field is like we would look at the mesh and keywords provided by the author and PubMed and then use that to populate our subjects and then just delete the keywords from the record.
Yeah.
So, but if we do that, then they're not in the thesaurus anymore? Or they
The term
are?
will I think the term is technically still in the thesaurus. It just isn't. It just shows as not being used anywhere. There's no harm to doing it this way. And what you can, there's no harm in bringing it into a thesaurus and then deleting it after the fact and putting it into your subject terms. If you want to supplement your record with the extra keywords, you can do that and just leave them there. You could just do text too if you wanted, but we just have to go make the field. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that it might not be a bad idea to leave the keywords in mesh, like for people to be able to search on those because, we've got our controlled vocabulary, but not everyone knows that. And there might be terms Yeah.
Exactly. And any way you can help somebody find something, and just the biggest thing is nobody searches exactly the same way. And so if you can make it just that little bit easier, you could even do something though, like like let's say we want to downplay the keywords field a little bit. You can pull it out of the additional search options. So, you know, the little drop down that gives you other fields to search other than what's right in front of you. So you could pull it out of there, but just leave it as part of the default search so that somebody can find
Yeah.
something, but it's not like they're hunting for that exact term, for
Right. So
instance.
if somebody's doing like a all field search, it would still come up.
Exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah. Just makes it a little bit easier. And then, you know, you're not shooting yourself in the foot by not allowing them to find these things, but you get the idea of what I'm going for. So
Yeah, I just want to avoid confusion between keywords and subjects.
another way you can do it is bury it at the bottom of the record type. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave them here at the bottom, and then I'll let you guys play with the order of how you want it. But really, you could just leave it like one above imported ID, and you know, nobody scrolls ever. So unless they're basically on a phone. So you could probably bury it at the bottom. Somebody will probably ignore it. They'll see your subject terms, and it's just an extra benefit for helping people find things. That's
Right.
all.
Cool.
Excellent. All right. So now that that's taken care of, now I don't want to import this because obviously this has these three that I've chosen as my example aren't perfect for, they have no relevance to what you do. But I'm just going to walk you through the process of how to import so that you guys can try it. And what I would recommend is do one PMID initially. And then that way you can get a feel for it, see how it brought it in. Let me know if there are any adjustments we need to make, and go from there, sort of thing.
Okay.
All right, so again, to get to imports, modules, import maintenance, and then select just radio button, turn it that lovely minty green, start import on your left. Now you want to set the language to American English, Office to IPAS, OPAC default. Now this one doesn't really matter, just always set it to default. And same thing with your office. If you had multiple offices, you would just pick the one that was most relevant in this case. All right, content type, this is where it's going to be a little bit different. Now, where are your journal articles? Are they under?
It'll be reading materials.
Excellent, okay. And then so you just pick journal article, reading material to journal article. Your data source tab, change it from import folder to import configuration. And then in the export report, just put in your email address. So I'm just going to put in mine. Now, you cannot put two emails in the exact same line. So if you want there's this little report that you get that tells you how many records were imported, how many were updated, or how many failed, basically. And if that ever happens where you have a bunch of failures and you can't figure it out, just forward me that report with the Sutron XML and I'll take a look and see what's up. There's a myriad of reasons that it can fail, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But the big key things are set the top three options on the left for the record, choose your content and record type, data source to import configuration, and then just make sure you put in an email so you can get that report so you know exactly what happened.
Okay.
Now, I have it set to only import new records. So it won't update anything, it will just bring in the new ones. So that means that if a PMID matches something that's already in your imported ID field, it will just recognize that and then move past to the next one. So it doesn't, and the reason I did it specifically that way is if you did update, which you do have the option to do, you'd have to decide which fields you wanted it to update, because let's say we put it in the journal source, because of the way that we have to standardize it, we can't always do the exact pieces that you need. So you might have to edit a few of those for some of those weirder ones. And then I don't want to perform an update and accidentally remove what you've just fixed. So I did it in a safer manner, if you will, to make sure that that doesn't happen. Once you're done, you click Run Import, and that will take you to the task maintenance screen. So I'll just show you what that looks like. And I'll show you actually how to get to it in the event that you need to move away from that screen while the import is happening. So Modules, Task Center, Task Maintenance. You probably will never ever come in here other than if you do an import. That's probably why this page is a little slow. The only other time you might be here is if you're synchronizing your record type templates, which we actually need to do since I just added 2 new fields. So let's just hold on for that. Actually, while we're waiting for that, I'll talk about why an import might fail. So what I've seen a few times with the PubMed imports is that their dates, most of the time it's perfectly fine, no problems, but sometimes they like to put text into the date. You know, this article was done as of blah, blah, blah. Very rare, don't usually see it, but I've seen it a couple times now. If that happens, that will cause the date field to fail. But that can be changed by either adjusting the XML itself and just quickly taking out that text, or other things like that. Another reason that it might fail is that there, for whatever reason, and this would be a weird tool thing, there were 5 abstracts. The abstract is a rich text field, which means there can only be 1 piece brought in, and then it would blow up if that was the case. It's very rare that we've seen any of these fail, so they're outliers, and it would be something just to send over to me and have me take a look at.
Okay.
All right. Now, while we're here, we'll just quickly synchronize that task. There we go. Have you ever synchronized a record type template?
I don't think so.
Okay. Synchronizing the record type templates shouldn't be necessary as of the next upgrade, but because the LMS currently controls fields and record type templates, and the portal is newer technology, this task runs so that the two can talk to each other and add any new fields I've added in there to it, or if I create a new record type, it actually tells the portal, hey, there's a new record type template, you need to use that one.
That process runs automatically though?
Yeah, nightly it normally does, and you would
Okay.
never do it. The only time you'd ever do this is like we just did now, where just in case it's the middle of the day and I want those to synchronize.
Right.
So it's just this task. You click Run Task Now. You check the last run date, which was originally 8. Now it says 6:37. Yay, it's run. Very exciting. Now, when you're doing imports, these tasks that are here, these are the ones that run nightly or that do things to maintain the system. We don't want those ones. We want the ones that are in the background, like our import tasks. So when you run an import task, you simply go and change this last item to background tasks, and you'll see the task show up right here. Okay. If it is done, it will usually say in the status column, successful. If you are importing, let's say like the 1,000 the PubMeds, you'll probably see the little progress thing change. And what you want to do is you just click refresh every so often to see the little progress percentage go up. So it'll start at 0%, then 5, etc. It's pretty fast, even at 1,000. So you may not even see the 0% go by. So don't worry if you don't, especially when you're uploading 1, 3, anything like that, you'll probably never see it say anything but success. Once you've done the import, you've clicked Run Import, it will take you to this screen and it will show you the different imports you've run. If this page starts getting filled up, because it sometimes does depending on how many imports you've run, you will see a little checkbox on the left-hand side. Simply tick off the ones that you want to get rid of. You know, yes, I'm aware that 3 days ago I ran 3 successful tests. I'm done. So click those off and simply click Delete Task on your left.
Key.
I don't expect you to remember that. You can ask again in the future.
Well, and that's why we're recording, right?
Yes, that as well. All right. So is there anything that's basically the process that goes through? Once those things have been imported, I recommend immediately going and doing a quick search for it. Double check. If you're running multiple imports throughout the day, what you can do is go into your additional search fields, find the created date, add it, and then search for today's exact date, for instance. Then you'll see everything that was created that day. Now, if you want to narrow it down even further, for instance, you are doing some imports as well as Olin, then what you want to do is now I don't think you have created by in here. We could add it, but you can narrow it down further by who actually created the items, and then that way the import works a little different. It's easier to do, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
I'm excited to try it out.
Excellent. So it is, I've got a copy of it in your Sutron thing, in your FTP. Sorry. Thank you. Now, in the tool, what you're going to want to do is have a folder probably on your desktop or something, or a folder somewhere in your computer called PubMed conversion or whatever. You need to have the config as well as the exe in the same place. Okay. The reason is we now have, because your setup was slightly different than the other one, that was already in use, we created 2 separate ones so we can make sure that we can update both of yours differently constantly. So that way you don't have to worry about ever reverting back to anything. If this config file is missing from the folder where the exe is, you will use the other people's setup, and I don't want to do that to you. So
okay,
make sure they're in the same place. Theirs isn't terrible, but we made some very special changes for you. So
yeah,
just make sure that config's in the same place.
Okay.
And you'll see it in a little zip folder. The zip folder will say PubMed conversion version 3, and you'll be able to see the update numbers if we give you an update, for instance.
Okay.
All right. Other than that, any questions?
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
Go ahead.
getting the recording. You'll
yeah.
send us the
of course.
recording. Okay.
I'll do that right after the session. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Or
I think I'll
as soon as it's done.
Yeah. I think I'll play with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let you know if I come across any snags or whatever.
What I recommend, at least for trying first, is to just try playing with a bunch of different PubMed numbers and throw them in there and just see how it gives you the outputs. You can save it over top of itself each time, just to give you a feel for what it looks like, what it's doing, how it works, and then try the FTP and moving things over. And again, try doing one at a time initially, just to give you a good feel for how it looks in the system and if we need to make any adjustments before we go like gangbusters.
Okay.
All right. Anything else while you have me for the last few minutes?
I don't have anything.
All right.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. Well, you guys both take care. Congratulations again on finishing your thesis. Allison, I'm so happy for you. Good luck. and
you.
keep us posted. So we're all thinking about you.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right. Take
All right.
care, and
Thanks,
we'll talk to you
Tanya.
soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.